This channel is supported by TrueFire. TrueFire is an online library of lessons from some of my favourite players. There's thousands of lessons on there. You can use the promo code JNC40 to get 40% off of any of their courses. So in my haste to get my hands on some Gen 3 Katana tech, I decided to go in at the cheapest end of what I could get, which is the Boss Katana 50. And this is also the smallest unit. For that reason, it's definitely got some value to it. And in terms of like your first kind of proper beginner practice amp that you could take to a stage, I think this is quite a lot better than anything I had as a kid. Especially with the Tone Studio, which can access quite a lot of the features that the kind of posher models can do. I'm going to flash it up on the screen here so you get a good sense of what this can do. I think there is some really important things that distinguish the Boss Katana 50 from some of the others in the range, so I wanted to make a video specifically about that so you don't make the same mistake that I did and then think, right, I actually wish I'd bought whatever else. So, the Guitar Geek has also done a video, kind of the Boss 50 and 100, comparing those two buying guide. This is specifically actually going to kind of tell you what my favourite of the range is. So, what can't the 50 do that the 100 and up can do? And even the 50EX apparently can do this. Really crucially, this I think is the key to unlocking so much of what is special about the Boss Katana. Because not only do the upper models have sort of 4 channels and then basically another 4. So you can have 8 presets on the Katana. But with this foot switch, you can switch between the channels, but also press the function again. You can switch off delay, reverb, effects, mod, booster, and you can actually get in and edit what this foot switch does. But without editing, it's super useful as well. And you could literally gig this thing, and I have done a gig with this. It's also got expression pedal inputs, so it really does unlock the Boss Katana in general. So I think if you're thinking, I'd like to make use of channel switching, like to make best use of the effects that are in the Katana. For me, personally, I think the GA-FC EX is the way to go. And that's what I've used with my Katana head. Now, another kind of point to make about this. Nice and lightweight, of course. But we got a stereo phone output. We got no effects loop. So if you're thinking about using an effects loop for whatever reason, like you've got your external delay pedal, your external reverbs that you're deciding to use, this doesn't have an effects loop, so the channel switching will compromise your delay sounds and stuff like that. We do have a power amp in, which is a nice feature to have, so even at the very bottom end, you'd think maybe without an effects loop you might not get that power amp in, but less than £300 it is included there. That's a really nice feature. We've got an aux in there, and then stereo phones, an aux in. That is handy to have, isn't it? Right. Anyway, the phone output will cancel this speaker, whereas on the higher end models, you can have the output coming out here, either via jack, or the really high end models have an XLR out as well. But you can then have a line out coming from the Katana to go to your front of house PA or to your audio interface, as well as this speaker actually working. Now, I guess compromise at home, you could probably use your USB output for recording if you're going to be doing that. But that is important to know that on the 50, this model, when you're using that line out, it is going to cancel this speaker from working. So that's worth knowing. Same models across the range. Now, another real key difference is that the head model, the artist model, and the artist head have this power amp setting, the bloom feature, which I think it certainly sounds to me like something I'm going to be wanting to check out, as it basically revoices the amp from a power amp perspective. And the power amp section is something in a real valve amp that does make a real difference, and that is actually where you get quite a lot of that bloom element and that sag element. So I'd be interested to try that. So I think for that reason, the 50 doesn't have that, the 100 combo doesn't have that, and the 50EX won't have that either. That's something that I'm thinking I want to take advantage of if I can. And so for that reason, the options are narrowed down to the artist head, or the Katana head. Now, there's a good reason that I think this is my favourite format of the Katana in general. This is the Mark II, but the Gen 3 is going to do the same sort of thing in the same box. So, like you can see, you've got 4 channels. You've got a presence control, which this 50 doesn't have. And you've got the cab resonance, which that doesn't have either. Although that is a feature within the software. You also have the effects loop. You also have the stereo expand. You have mud on the back because I took it in the car. You have MIDI in, speaker output. Now, crucially though, without any speaker attached, you've got a dummy speaker in here. Not a dummy speaker, but an actual 5-watt speaker. So this can be useful as like a practice amp, and I have used it in that way. So this is my preferred format of the Katana head. They are going to do a Gen 3 Katana head. It is significantly more expensive than this, but the real kicker for me is that I can then pair it with a Mesa Boogie cab, and my Mesa Boogie little open back cab from the 80s, really, you know, not lightweight because it's got an EVM speaker in it, so it weighs about 17 kilo, but it is compact and kind of one of the best speakers ever made. And I think an upgrade on the Katana cabinetry and stuff like that, and I think is going to be the ideal way to get the most out of the Katana. So that for me is, I think, the way that I'm going to go, because the Katana head, this is going to be having the bloom feature. So I've got the bloom feature, I'll be able to use the foot switch, and it's got the new push setting, got a recording out, power amp in, it's got all of the good stuff. Not that this isn't a really decent amp for the money. The Line 6 Catalyst, similarly priced, is a little bit fully featured, so that does have the effects loop. And I think the 100 has MIDI in. Bigger than this, heavier than this. Probably not quite as loud as this even. But yeah, the 50, I think it's the wrong Katana for me, essentially, is the point of this video. So, avoiding making that mistake by making a video where I clearly lay out what some of the differences are, and the reason that I think that this format, when that comes out, will be the way to go. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Have you got a preferred option for the Katana format? I think it's cool that they got so many formats. I just think it then makes a little bit of a confusing option when you're thinking like, right, well, do I want to buy the cheapest option? Do I want to spend £400 over it for the 100, which actually kind of looks fairly similar, but as I say, has some fairly key differences, you know. Yeah, don't make the same mistake I did. So look at it carefully. Boss actually have a buyer's guide for this as well, if you're looking for a really concise and fully fleshed out piece of info on that. But yes, the wrong Katana for the job, I think. This head format, I think, is the way to go, because this can replace a practice amp as well as 100 watts, loud enough to gig on stage.